Hello, everybody. Welcome to the debut episode of Conservatives Against Sprawl, my channel, where I'm going to be talking about all kinds of things under the urban planning umbrella, from cities and suburbs and public transportation and urban sprawl and all these topics. A lot of these things, I don't know, normally or at least heavily discussed from a liberal perspective overall. Uh, a lot of these philosophies that I agree with, only I kind of come at it from more on the right side of the political side of things. Now, I probably won't be openly political anytime soon, but anyway, that's the general framework here. Um, I've debated how I want this show to come across. I've got a lot of YouTubers and articles and books and things that I've read that do deep dives into a lot of these subjects, and I'm not sure I have the knowledge to do what a lot of these people do that I watch and enjoy. And even if I did, as much as I am interested in a lot of these subjects, especially when you get into financial aspects and political aspects of a lot of these things, they can be quite dry. So I don't want to be just the talking head going on about these things, um, just for that part, that content where I'm talking about the things in an academic kind of way for long periods of time. So I'm going to mix in more than just mix in. I'm going to make the show fun for me to do, and if people, hopefully jump on in some capacity and give me feedback on some of these things, these little segments I'm going to do. So I'll get right into to before I'm talking about some of these urban planning topics. I'll just do some other things just to kind of break the ice and have fun, keep myself, entertained, if you will. So, got a few different kind of bits that I'll do here. Um, that's one first thing I like to do, kind of related to these topics. As far back as I remember, I've always just been somebody pick up a map and look at it and go way in on anything. Just if it's a place I've never been, to see what's around that I might like to visit, or just to learn about for educational purpose, or if it's a place I have been, just you know look at the map and see where things are relate spatially located in relation to one another, which I may not get one from physically being someplace. So anyway, with the existence of Google Maps, which now you pull up a map and see a town or some kind of a site on a map, a place on a map, and you tap it and you're right into a Wikipedia page on it. So what I've occasionally I'll do, just um, go to some random spot on a map of anywhere, usually in the U.S., and find some small town that I would otherwise know nothing about, and I'll click on it. And the smaller the better, fun it I, the fun I find it to find a place that just scroll down on most Wikipedia entries for towns. They'll have a section, if it applies, of notable people that come from a certain place. So, for instance, I just popped into Kentucky and just moved the map to some random part that I don't know about and look for a a place that's, probably a town of a smaller size, but a few thousand people or less. And sure enough, London, Kentucky pulls up a notable people section. Number of people, a lot of these things, I don't know who decides what to post as a notable person, but they'll, anyway, a whole bunch of people listed for London, Kentucky. None of whom I'm familiar with at all. Um, but there is a note about in the history of London, Kentucky, that it's annual World Chicken Festival that celebrates Colonel Sanders, though it doesn't say he was specifically from here to the extent that Colonel Sanders was an actual person. I don't even know that, but looking at the World Chicken Festival, it right up front notes that this place is home to the world's largest frying pan at 10.5 feet long. They can cook 600 chicken quarters at one time in a single frying pan in London, Kentucky. So some of these things might catch my eye for a second, and then I'll never think of them again. But sometimes, some places I'll learn about somebody, and then it'll stick in my head, and then I've got a conversation starter for if I ever meet somebody from this town or a particular celebrity is from a certain place, then I can associate that with them for any future conversations about that. So anyway, that's London, Kentucky. So enough on that. Okay, another thing I love is very obscure, odd sports statistics. Um, some of them I've come across are really stand out to me and are my favorites. So um, we love to open up the comments and have people send some stuff back in. It could be anything, any sport that keeps records is bound to have some historical facts that are a statistical anomaly or whatever you want to call it. So this is one of my favorites, and it's not exactly an unknown one. I've talked about it with friends before, but anyway, this here is New York Yankees legend, great hitter Don Mattingly. Um, 15-year career. He had about 220 something home runs. So definitely a bit of a power hitter. He was a batting average guy, but he could hit the ball out, especially at Yankee Stadium, left-handed hitter, all that. Um, so in one of his great years, he did just that. He had a bunch of home runs, including and then his great 1987 season, he hit six grand slams. So that's quite the feat, which that happens to be the all-time major league record, six grand slams in one season. So what makes that especially wild is for his career total, he had six grand slams. So a pretty rare, great, exciting feat in a baseball game. Grand slam home run. He did it six times in one year and never did it in another year of his other 13 seasons. So I always loved that one. So please, if you have other eye-catching things like that, now not necessarily all-time records that'll never be broken, that kind of thing. These are just the quirky things that anybody can pull off just by chance. So looking forward to getting some of those sent back. Um, so anyway, um, what about another thing? Okay, this one is for people who have an opportunity to laugh at me. I try to, I find this humorous about myself to where, anyway, Watching movies, obviously a very popular human activity, and I have plenty of movies that I enjoy myself. But um, at this point, when talk to people, I almost embarrassed some of the popular, super big blockbuster and Oscar winning and all anything in between kind of movies that I haven't seen. I don't know if this goes back a long time where I'll go to movies and just, I don't know if it's just a impatience or being lazy or whatever, but I'll fall asleep at movies, or just not put in the time. And I really think I'm missing out on something because I hear people talk about this or that film that they've seen, and I've either started it and not finished it, or just never seen some of these great works of art, quite frankly, and kind of bums me out because now that my age, I feel like I could watch 3 movies a day for the rest of my life and probably never catch up to some of the good stuff. So, please send me, you know, starting with what Gone with the Wind to any other, Star Wars series. I've seen some of the early ones, and then the rest I either haven't seen or I fall asleep when we go to the movies to watch them. So, um, please tell me what I'm missing out on. Some people have asked me if I've seen this or that, and they're in horror when I say no, I haven't. So please tell me some things that I'm missing out on, and I'd love to start trying to catch up. That goes for TV shows and other stuff too. I won't even get into books because I think that's a ship that sailed on me. So anyway, back to the urban planning area. Got some YouTubers that I really enjoy. Um, this guy, well, you can see this. His name's Ray Delahanty. He does a channel called City Nerd. Definitely coming at things from a left wing kind of angle, but his content is great. He goes to different places around the country, overseas as well. Really focused on great walkable urbanism, and particularly where you can live a great life without even having a car. So he does great dives his personality. He's got a really great deadpan kind of dry humor. So I definitely recommend checking out some of his stuff. Another one is maybe not coming across too well. That's Not Just Bikes. Not sure what this guy's name is either, or right off the bat, but another kind of liberal leanings approach. But he does similar. It's kind of similar work to City Nerd, only he's Canadian and lives from the sound of it in the Netherlands. A lot of dives into the suburbanism and the North American way of building cities, and stroads, street slash roads, these monstrosities that take over American suburbs, Canadian suburbs, and completely demolish any walkable, possibilities. And that's the direction he goes in. But lots of dives into some specific areas. Highly recommend Not Just Bikes. Love this guy. This is Road Guy Rob. Not too much of a political or ideological angle. He's more just he's a fanatic for diving into highway building and all the things that go into that, from building interchanges, intersections to red light cameras and road signs, how these things all get developed for national standards and things like that. So that is Road Guy Rob. Definitely, definitely check him out. And I got a bunch of books. Suburban Nation. Gosh, I read this book like 17 years ago. It's a pillar in the urban planning community. I still see it cited a lot. It's about, a lot of the same things, walkability of cities and um, building the suburbs in more sustainable ways and things like that. Definitely recommend that. Walkable City is most specifically about that, written by Jeff Speck, who is one of the co-authors on Suburban Nation from the other politics libertarian think tank called Reason. Um, Founder of it, Robert W. Poole. Read his stuff. Got a newsletter from him. Super in depth dives from a lot of um, focused on the practical ways to make things, you know, more workable and importantly financially feasible through the political process. Um, so I will go, definitely into depth into all these people and more as I go forward. So those are some of the topics I'll be touching on. Gosh, even love to interview people. Start with people I know, and as I work into this, maybe get to where I'm interviewing, just talking to people out on the street, how they feel about all these things about how their suburbs develop. If people enjoy living in the subdivision, suburban model of America. Hopefully, interview some of these professionals and experts in the field as we go along here. We'll see if I can get to that point. So that is all on that. One last little back to the silly fun stuff. As friends or my family knows, some of my friends know going back to our youth. One of the things I've been afflicted with is what I call this thing, backwardsism, where I see words, or even not just see words written anywhere, but even just hear something, and in my head I'll try and uh, f- flip it around, read it backwards, see if it turns into anything that makes sense, not necessarily in a palindrome sense, like radar, race car, and all these words that are the same thing forward and backwards. I'm looking for anything that even makes an English word backwards, or even sounds like it could be a word, even if it's not, or a phrase or whatever. So, as a quick example, just something that popped into my head one time, and I shared it with my family, and everybody found it amusing. It doesn't mean anything at all, but if you look at a word like Tylenol, um, you turn this word backwards and pop one little space in there, and you get lonely tea. Again, that absolutely does not mean anything other than it sounds like it could mean something. It just doesn't. But it sounds like an English phrase, but it's just another random word flipped around backwards. So love to get feedback on anybody who does this kind of thing and get some other examples. I've got a few more stacked up that I'll roll out with each episode, I guess. But at the same time, in the comments, I'll be looking forward to some other ones that anybody might have. So anyway, I've gone on longer than I wanted to here. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in a future episode. Hopefully, thank you.